Você chegou. Não é para qualquer um. Não é apenas pegar um avião e atravessar um continente. É cruzar a fronteira do desconhecido. Se aventurar pela estrada das possibilidades. Em uma viagem dessas, existe uma coisa que não pode faltar na bagagem: coragem. E isso você tem de sobra. Com garra você chegou até aqui. E com ela irá ainda mais longe. Porque brasileiro faz sucesso em qualquer lugar do mundo. E talento é o que não falta. Você é o protagonista desta novela que é a própria vida. A Globo quer estar com você nessa caminhada. Dia a dia, lado a lado, dentro e fora do Brasil. Globo, junto com você.
Você já conhece o Regime Chip?
Me sinto muito melhor e com mais disposição depois que comecei a usar o Regime Chip.
O Regime Chip ajuda a restaurar a função hormonal do corpo. É uma forma natural de prevenir o envelhecimento.
Agora eu tenho muito mais energia para fazer os meus exercícios e a minha esposa está muito mais feliz.
Regime Chip fortalece seu corpo, mente e espírito. Ligue agora e marque uma consulta com a gente.
Você já se perguntou por que o mundo inteiro quer morar no sul da Flórida? Imagina você vivendo em uma das regiões mais cobiçadas dos Estados Unidos. Com um clima excepcional que permite frequentar a praia praticamente o ano inteiro, areia branca, água azul e cristalina, um cenário perfeito para relaxar e se divertir ou praticar o seu esporte favorito. Devido à enorme diversidade cultural, a região oferece uma gastronomia diversificada com o melhor da culinária internacional. A beleza ímpar da sua costa atrai milionários de todas as partes do mundo que fixam residência, adquirindo imóveis de alto padrão. Boca Raton se tornou um destino para muitos. Com um mix de estilo e design conservador e contemporâneo, a cidade oferece o que há de melhor para os seus residentes. Educação de primeira classe, crescimento econômico extraordinário, lazer e entretenimento, resorts e condomínios de luxo e, sobretudo, uma riqueza exuberante. Eleita como a 11ª melhor cidade dos Estados Unidos para viver, Boca Raton oferece um estilo de vida diferenciado. O estilo de vida que você merece. Não é por acaso que o sul da Flórida é conhecido como o paraíso da América.
Estamos de volta aqui ao vivo no...
Good afternoon for a cool event, a cool look.
Estamos de volta aqui ao vivo no Broward Center, no Focus Brasil, depois de uma manhã inspiradora e emocionante com o painel do Conselho de Cidadãos Brasileiros. Nós tivemos a presença de mulheres maravilhosas, espetaculares. Vamos falar de arte, o painel do The 55 Project, coordenado pela queridíssima Maria do Carmo Fúlfaro. E por que de arte? Porque hoje tem premiação de artes visuais. E eu espero você aqui no live do Focus Brasil, no YouTube e no Facebook.
This incredible venture between Flávia Macuco and Maria do Carmo Fúlfaro, a venture that I love very much because it has everything to do with what I believe strongly, that is our involvement with arts and the idea that arts are, in my extremely modest opinion, the only hope we have, is the last resort, is the only possibility to fight ignorance and all stupidity that we are living in. And that's why we sacrifice everything in order to give more and more space for art. And for those who doesn't yet have your tickets for the Visual Arts Awards tonight, I strongly recommend you to come, not only because I need your money, of course, but, and most important, is the best, fun, completely involving situation with artists and people who love arts. We have only, I believe, few tickets available. I saved one for her, you know, and that's the only reminder I could tell now. Don't forget that. Go to focusbrasil.org, click tickets, and you still have few tickets for tonight. It will be a bash, and it will be all about causes. What is your cause? What is something that make you passionate about? What do you fight for? But now it's time to start the Visual Arts Conference presented by the 55 Project in collaboration with Focus Brazil. Please welcome Maria Fúfaro.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. This is the second year that we partner with Focus Brazil to put together a conference to discuss and to provoke dialogues and between arts in all different areas. So today we're gonna have two panels, and the first panel will be about multiplicities in feminist artists and dilemmas, contradictions, and new visions. And I would like to invite those women that will be part of this discussion. Adriana Herrera, the curator, and she's gonna be the moderator of this panel. And I also would like to invite Silvana Soriano, the artist, Carla Caprali, Yvette Yanez del Castillo. Yvette is a curator, art advisor with a lot of experience in museums. And Leslie Gabaldon. So we have Brazilians, we have Venezuela, we have Colombia, so it's a cultural diversity, and enjoy your discussion. Maria, are you going to? Yeah, you're gonna come here.
Thank you for being here. I believe this is an amazing opportunity, and I have to thank the 55 Project because they have really creating a new atmosphere for the arts. I need to know, how can I stop this? I mean, it's okay. My first point when they invite me to speak about feminism, art and feminism, was to ask myself, where does feminism start? If we understand it as an ism, you know, the part of ism means system. When we talk about any ism, we talk about a system. This is what exactly means this word. So feminists can be considered as a system of vision that reevaluates and unveils the participation of women in the sustainment of human life and the construction of history. This is the type of feminism I am interested in, but our talk is about multiplicities in feminism. So my question will be how to rewrite it so as to include in a more comprehensive way the entire history of women. I decided to go back in the time to the myths. So I select like 1 or 2 women for each century, 3 for the ancient times, and 3 for Renaissance times, and trying to cover, like make a panoramic vision of women. My first, you can read certain sentences, like the first one, that is the feminine is a cultural construction. It's not an homogeneous world, and it's a word, I believe that feminism has been in construction since the beginning of history and before, since the mythic tales, and it's still in construction. It's not something finished, it's something that we need to construct between each one of us, and it's our decision what type of feminism we want to embrace. I love someone that is Roberto Calasso, a master on studying myths, and he said that the myths are waiting for us to awake us that we can see them like a tree waits to greet our newly opened eyes. So I select some myths in order to share with you. Okay. I imagine that you have heard about Pandora, the woman that, have you heard about Pandora? Who was her? Yeah. She was the woman who opened the box in which all the bad things escape for the humanity. It says that before Pandora, it's like the problem is that Prometheus stole the fire from the gods. So Zeus was really angry because now the human have the fire. So he created, this is the myth, Pandora. And Pandora was created exactly as you can read it there. Like Aphrodite put grace on her head, and she had many dons, many virtues, but she has something that is part of women nature. This is the curiosity. But our curiosity, for me, is a bless, because curiosity is the beginning of philosophy, the beginning of knowledge, the beginning of everything. And the story tells that Pandora didn't resist the temptation of opening certain box that was in the house of the brother of Prometheus. And once that she opened this box, that sometimes is a jar, is represented in the form of a jar, all the sickness and the sadness and all the bad things of living on earth escape, but also escape the hope. And hope is what remains with us. This myth means that we are living on earth, far from paradise. So what Pandora does is to begin the life on earth with its sadness and with its joy, because life embraces all of them. So I just want to rescue the figure of Pandora that is connected to Eve in the Bible, because it's the expulsion of paradise, but at the same time is facing reality of life, but sustaining hope. So it's a woman very important for us. So she finished the golden age, and the golden age of the period of paradise. Oh no, I have to, okay, I'm sorry. Have you heard about, I guess, the Amazons? It is very interesting because it was another mythical woman, the Amazons, and the word Amazon is that in Greek is prefijo, that is without, and mason in Greek is breast. So the legend said that the Amazons cut her breast in order to launch, to better manage the arrow. It is very interesting because it's the idea of a kind of warrior women fighting against men. And this will be connected to the first of our questions, that is, do we need to cut our breast symbolically in order to be a warrior in lives? But it is very interesting because the myth, as any of the myths, has different versions. But most versions of the myth indicate that Hippolyte, that was the queen of the Amazons, one said that he was so impressed with Hercules that she gave him the girdle. It was a kind of belt that means her authority. Others says that that Hercules defeated her. And what happened then is that one of the main warriors that was Antiope was given to the Zeus. And finally, and this is a very interesting part for our conversation about what women are, is that Antiope had sons with Theseus. And then, in certain point, when the rest of the Amazons tried to rescue Antiope, she decided to fight for their life that she has with Theseus, because she has fallen in love with Theseus, and to fight for her sons against the other women. It is a mythic, but it is connected to our psyche. And it is, I believe, that for all the women, we do have the most richest part of our being is that we are really able to love, but at the same time, this is part of what makes us weak. So the question is, does love defeat us? How can we preserve our strength and creative capacity while living with men? How to expand a shared kingdom without having to cut our breast. So we are going to speak more about this. Finally, for the antiquity, I select Hipparchia because she was not a mythic woman. She was part of history, but it's interesting because in a very, very patriarchal society as Greek was, she was one of the first philosophers, and I am sure that all of you have heard about Diogenes Laercio. Do you remember the philosopher that was so defiant that lived in a barrel? So she was the pioneer before Diogenes, and she was a woman that selected to live as a philosopher, and that was the pioneer for the Stoicism. She renounced to her ornaments, to her beautiful clothes, in order to live in a very modest way with her husband, creating books and writing about philosophy. So I believe, and for me it's very important, that it doesn't matter the time in which we lived, we can do whatever we want, as many women has done in the past, and now more than ever. I forget Sappho from Lesbos. And it is interesting because for me, Sappho means that she was able to create with her own sensibility another genre in literature. Before Sappho, we used to have the epic and the tragedy. Do you remember in the literature, we have the three great genres. Epic, that is the tales about heroes, the tragedy or the theater, and then we had a third one, the lyric. And the lyric, as Sappho invented, it's about to tell our feelings, our intimacy, and to express in a poetic way our souls. So Sappho from Lesbos, Lesbos was the island in which she lived and gave birth to the word lesbianism, but it is not, I mean, this is part of a way of life in the ancient Greek, but it is not her real apportation to the life. The real apportation was to teach the humanity another language for express the feelings. Was not only about history, not only about representation. And remember that in theater, in the beginning, there were only men allowed to act. And then it is about to express who you are, who you want, your feelings, and create another language. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, it's, I believe that Sappho was, it's a model to follow in the sense that we can create new languages for the construction of the world. And this is our task. I believe that we get down the responsibility of building for the present and the future the meaning of the history of women and the feminine world. And it's about also inserting names, stories, other memories, the multiplicity of interpretative possibilities. And it's like if we search for who have been the women along the history, we will really learn a way of being now, or select and construct the feminism. I just want to mention, for example, that there was a woman, you know, that we believe that Japanese women are very, had not enough power. But there was a woman in the 18th century, Murashi Shikibu, who wrote the first novel, personal novel. The novel is something that you write in which you tell not the history of 1,000 people, but based it on one life. And she did it when in this 11th century. So it was impressionant because she wrote the tale of Genji, and that has many elements of a modern novel. So she was a pioneer, and it's possible now to reread who was the writer who wrote the tale of Genji. She was an aristocratic woman, and she found a way to express herself, but it is only until the 20th century when this book has been rescued. So everybody talks about the Quixote as the great novel, the beginning of modern novel, but we do not know even the name of the author of Genji Monogatari, who is this incredible woman. So it's there are many other stories that we need to recover in order to better understand who are we. I put this flow of things because I am completely sure that all of you know about Las Meninas, which is the Meninas of Velázquez. Everyone have seen this artwork. And sometimes they recall us, it's a very complex work, and it is very interesting because it's recognized as one of the very first paintings that gives us a space for the role of the artist. Remember that the artist before used to be working in the court, but was not someone really important. It was someone that was on the service of the court. But something that is super interesting is that Velázquez placed himself. Oh. Velázquez, but you heard me good that way? Yes? Velázquez placed himself in the center of the scene in the act of painting. He did that in 1965, in the 1665. But 1 century before, there was another artist that is Sofonisba Anguissola that now is in the Reina Sofia Museum. 1 century before Sofonisba, I want you to read this from the end to the beginning. So what we can see is that before of him, Sofonisba painted himself. And even though the art historians recognize the influence of Jan van Dyck, and in the creation of this masterpiece, nobody speaks about two women who made self-portraits of representing themselves as an artist. And imagine that in this moment, several women, only few women, were able to be an artist, to paint. So both of them, Caterina de Genesen and Sofonisba Anguissola, they represented themselves as painters in a way that can be completely connected to the masterpiece that Velázquez did. You can see here more details about Sophonisba and Wisola, and think about a woman that is born in the 16th century to the 17th century. It was incredible what she was accomplished to do. And something incredible is that she teach her sisters to be also painters and sell their painters. So she was really a powerful one, and there is a very famous painting of Sophonisba in which she portrayed her sisters playing chess. That was a game reserved for men, but all of them learned how to paint, and she was the defiant gaze. She's looking at us, and she's saying like the cogito ergo sum, but she's saying to us, I paint, therefore I am. And it's incredible. And something interesting is that she's not painting, putting emphasizing her beauty or her dresses. She's emphasizing her capacity of being an artist, of create. And this is what is really super important. I just want to recall with this woman of 17th century, Lavinia Fontana, that was, she was commissioned to make many paintings. She was one of the first artists that was able to paint feminine nudes. But this artwork that you are looking is very interesting because for me it's a perfect example of how can you be feminist in early times. She made a portrait of a noble woman that was Bianca the Ugly, but as you can see, the men are represented in one side and the woman, the girls of Bianca, are in the other side. And the women are represented with giving elements that give more importance or more value to the girls. That was something against the times. One of them has a bird. The other one has certain thing like a jewelry on her hand. Here you can see, I don't know if you can read it, but over the head of the little girl is written her name. This was a way of giving importance to the girl. So always, usually when they portrayed the noble families, women were not the center of this. But when she made this portrait, Lavinia gave importance to the girls. So it was a way of. And then you see on your left, I believe perhaps you have heard the name of Artemisia Gentileschi because there was a famous film recently about her life. And it is a self-portrait, and the self-portrait, she represents herself as the allegory of painting. And it's very interesting because she was not, in most of the cases, the women were taught by their fathers. But in this case, she was trained for another, she was a noble. But Artemisia had very strong works, you will see it. Artemisia Gentileschi is perhaps one of the first women in denouncing the violence against women. All her paintings, or most part of her renowned paintings, are portraying women in the Bible or women in the myth that has suffered the violence against them. And it's a long controversy. We do not have time here to go deep in this controversy, but it's a fact that she was raped for one of her tutors. And for many centuries, the authorship of this painting has been disputed for the scholars because they didn't consider that a girl that was 17 years were able to portray in such an impressionant manner the story of Susan and the elders. that are trying to seduce her, but then are accusing her of being a dishonest woman. But Artemisia, if you study the way she represented Judith and Holofernes and other paintings, she always was recalling the strength of women, and was just like exorcising this violence that she suffered through her art. I am you see 3 different representations of Judith and Holofernes. The first one is made by Caravaggio. But I invite you just to compare the faces of the women that Caravaggio represents.
Bom, a gente vai dar uma pausa agora no nosso live aqui no Focus Brasil, mas fica ligado durante todo o dia que a gente vai voltar com alguns flashes dos painéis aqui do Focus Brasil, primeiro dia de Focus Brasil no Broward Center. E hoje à noite, muita atenção, e a gente vai ter o prêmio de artes visuais com mais de 20 vencedores, é isso mesmo, mais de 20 artistas que vão receber o prêmio de artes visuais do Focus Brasil, e o prêmio será divulgado na hora, com o famoso envelopinho. Então vai estar todo mundo muito ansioso, e eu quero que você participe com a gente hoje no nosso live aqui pelo Facebook, pelo canal do YouTube do Focus Brasil, às 7 da noite aqui no Broward Center. Se você está aí, ainda dá tempo de vir, vai no site, pega o seu ingresso e vem aqui para o nosso Visual Arts no Broward Center em Fort Lauderdale. E fique aí ligadinho no Focus Brasil.